Hey y'all, I'm making this video because it seems like we're still having a bit of confusion finding the delta x and delta y of two coordinates, so let's just go ahead and get started. So let's understand what a coordinate is. For most of you, this is just a review, but coordinates are organized into locations on a coordinate plane based on two different axes for now. We have our x-axis, which is our left to right, our horizontal, and we have our y-axis, which is our up and down, that is our vertical. So they're written x, y. There is a comma in between. We don't really say it. So in this case, our example is going to be 1, 3. Once again, we have our variables x and y. X is always in the first spot. Y is always going to be in the second spot. So this means that x is 1 based off our example, and y is 3 based on our example. So to find the spot where the points meet, we take a look at what those variables mean. So on the x, it says 1. I'm going to go to my x-axis, look for that 1. What does the y mean? Well, I'm going to look on my y-axis, find that 3, and the point where they meet is where that dot is going to be. So in order to find the change in this dot, we need a second set. So let's bring in our second set of -2, -1. We're keeping our first set just so it's easy to understand. And you'll notice that there are some colors now on the screen. So on the first set, it says set 1 in red. You'll notice that I have little subscripts, these little numbers, next to my variables now. It says x1, y1. And so that's just our first set. We haven't changed it. It's still the same thing, still 1, 3. So we're giving it a different, kind of a different name now. So x1 is 1 and y1 is 3 because it's our first set of x and y. Our second set, the one we just brought in, is color-coded in blue, and I'm calling it set 2. Easy because it's our second set. Our second set now, the variable is a little bit different as well. It's x2, y2, and that corresponds with the positions of where the numbers are. So -2, -1. So if we're taking a look at first set, second set of x and y's, let's try to figure out where x2, what number is that? Or where is y1? What number would that be? So I'm going to take a look at here. It says x2, that means that 2 is in my second set. So I'm going to go to my second set, and I'm looking for the variable x. And x is always going to be in the first spot. And so the first spot of my second set is -2. And let's go ahead and figure out what y1 is. That 1 tells me it's in our first set, so I'm going to go back to our first set and find out where that y is. Y is always going to be in the second spot. So in my first set and the second spot is 3. So x2 should equal -2, and y1 should equal 3. If this part is confusing, spend a little bit more time studying this area and let me know so I can find resources for you too. But if this part is confusing for now, the next part is going to be even more confusing. So make sure you have a good understanding of how to find x1, y2, x2, y1 first before we move on. All right, so assuming that this makes sense to you, let's keep going. I'm going to have our example on the upper left corner just so we can reference back to it because we're going to be using it again. And to find the difference, it's also known as the change or delta, pronounced, delta like a triangle. So the delta x, the change in x, has this very specific formula, meaning that we just plug in numbers where the variables, where the letters are, but we can't change much else. So here our formula is delta x equals x2 minus x1. And once again, we have those sets, right? So this 2 right here means it's from the second set, the first spot in the second set. So here's going to be right here, -2. That's why I have a -2 there. The subtraction sign is right here. It's a part of the formula. We cannot change it. It's non-negotiable. So you can't suddenly be like, you know what? I feel like I'm going to multiply it instead. Please don't do that. And our second part of the formula is x1. This 1 right here tells me it's in our first set. So I'm actually going to go back to our first set on top right here. The first position of our first set is 1, which is right here. And that's just where we got them from. We have to kind of go to the second one first, find the variables there, and then go to the next one. And then we just do the equation. So what is -2 minus 1? Well, that's going to give me -3. Boom, done. I found my delta x. That is all I need for now. We're going to do the same thing with y, delta y, because we need to find those coordinate sets. They always come in a set, x, y. So the formula for delta y, very similar to delta x, is y2 minus y1. Once again, this 2 right here lets me know that it's in my second set, so I'm not even going to bother looking at the first set right here. I'm looking at the second set, and y is always going to be in the second spot. So the second spot of the second set is -1, and that's where this -1 comes from. Minus, because it's a part of the formula, non-negotiable, can't change it, minus y1. This 1 lets me know it's in the first set, gonna be on the second spot of the first set, and that's 3. That's where this 3 comes from. Once you have those numbers plugged in, go ahead and subtract it all, subtract it all the way through. So what is -1 minus 3? That's going to give me -4. I found my delta x, found my delta y, I'm good to go. So once you understand these steps right here, plugging it into something else to find the slope is no different than just rearranging the numbers. So here are some common mistakes that I've been noticing is that you're switching up the wrong coordinates. I've noticed some folks are switching up the x and y coordinates. So if it says, what's the change in delta y? You're only working with the y coordinates. What is the change in x? You're only working with the x coordinates. Some people are switching between the two. So to find delta y, they're using x coordinates, and that is wrong. So make sure you're using the right coordinates. Second common mistake is forgetting proper subtraction methods. So we are subtracting. So remember the negative numbers are very, very common because we're taking things away. We're subtracting. So 2 negatives equal positive. So for example, if I have 2 minus -3, that minus and that negative become a positive. So you actually get 2 plus 3. All right. So when you're going through finding the delta y, delta x, or change in y and change in x, make sure that you are finding the correct numbers, because looking at the wrong set will give you the wrong number, and subtracting negatives can get a little bit tricky, but make sure you take your time to subtract properly. All right, I hope this video was helpful. I'm going to upload these slides so that way if you can't watch the video is not very accessible to you, you can follow along through the slides as well. But all right, let me know if you have any other questions, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.